What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another New York Giants video, and tonight we finish the trilogy of the Georgia Bulldogs prospects with the man, the myth, the legend, Noah Deibler from the Sports Box, Sweet Tea Show, Friday nights at 9. Noah, how's it going tonight?
It's going good, man. Like you said, all great things come in trilogies. I think of Lord of the Rings. I think of Spider-Man, the Batman trilogy with Christopher Nolan. A lot of great things come in trilogy. Now we have to add the UGA film studies to that list. So looking really forward to this one. As I told you last week, Tom, this is probably going to be my favorite one to do because this guy's he's all over the field, man. He's not some big fat defensive lineman. He's a linebacker. So it's gonna be exciting to do this, definitely, man.
And that man is Nakobe Dean, linebacker out of the University of Georgia. Now, before we dive into him with Noah, make sure to give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. I do apologize. Our YouTube channel was going under some maintenance this weekend and wouldn't let me upload my Kadarius Toney video Friday at 3:30. Instead, it got up early this morning, but we got that all squared away for draft week. We have to. But let's get into Nakobe Dean, Noah. So 6 foot, 225, junior, a little bit small for a linebacker height-wise, some may argue. Dean did not take part in any on-field drills at the combine and was limited in pro day events due to a pectoral strain. Do you think this could affect his stock on draft night?
I think it's possible. I mean, we've seen with a guy like Trayvon Walker, Tom, how important combine, the combine is to these pro scouts. A guy that has, very limited stock, all of a sudden he has a great combine and he shoots up, or a guy has a bad combine, he drops down a bit. You add to it the injury, and I think you might be looking at a guy that, I think before all this was probably like a mid-first. I think it's very possible he could slip later into the first. I don't know if he'd go into the second. I've seen some people project him as a second. I think that's a little bit too far. But I definitely think he's a guy that could probably maybe slip in the 20s or something like that. But, I will say this. I have no doubt this guy can be a successful linebacker at the next level. I wouldn't worry too much about the injury. The measurables, I mean, I have the eye test, Tom. I don't need to watch the combine with these guys. I've seen what this guy can do all year. He's all around the football. Field to field. Like you said, he is a bit undersized, which, could be a bit of a problem, especially in the run game where you have to kind of, get in there with those big offensive linemen and try and make plays. But pass coverage, stuff like that, making tackles in the open field, I think he'll be great at that. So we'll see. And, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where he goes. I think, it's not guaranteed where he goes by any means. But I have faith in him. Like I said, I mean, I think he's a great player. Very, very athletic. But like you said, he is a bit undersized. So, will NFL teams look at, his athleticism and maybe want to take him, or will they look at his size and say, I'm not so sure. Maybe we'll get someone else. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes here.
Absolutely. Now, Nakobe Dean is a guy a lot of Giants fans have fallen in love with. The Giants could use some linebacker help next to Blake Martinez. I do think, though, where the Giants' draft picks are, Dean is only an option if the Giants trade back. You're right. I don't think he'll be there at 36. I think he's going early to mid-20s. I think the first team that could snag him is New England, but we saw what happened with Azeez Ojulari last year, falling all the way to number 50 into our laps, and then Ojulari gets an 8-sack rookie season. But to highlight Dean's college stats, as a freshman in 2019, 25 tackles and a forced fumble. 2020 had 71 stops and 1.5 sacks. And this past year, where he really erupted onto the scene in 15 starts, Nakobe Dean had 72 tackles, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 picks, and 6 passes defended. And it all started against Clemson, though. He had the 2-sack game against Clemson, 1.5 sacks against Arkansas, the one against Michigan, which I'm sure we'll be talking about in a little bit. But, a lot of people are comparing this guy to Roquan Smith because he's undersized as well, but they have similar size, athleticism, and tackling ability. This guy's tackling ability is absolutely insane in what he's able to do. That's why he was named first-team All-SEC and All-American in 2021.
Yeah, no, Tom, and not just that, you mentioned those two things. How about the Butkus Award? Best linebacker in all of college football. So, maybe a bit of a hot take here, Tom. I'm not sure if, people will agree with this. I think he can be better than Roquan Smith is because I looked at the impact he had last year. And, look, that's no disrespect
Right.
Roquan Smith. I love what he's doing with the Bears. I obviously, loved him here a lot as well. But I just see the eye test and everything that he can do. I think he can definitely be as good as Roquan Smith, if not better. Obviously, if you compare the stats, Roquan has him beat. But I look at the potential. I think he has a very high potential. Obviously, Roquan's a bit bigger as well. He's 6'1", 225, at least when he was here. Like you said, Nakobe Dean, he scratches maybe 6 foot, and he's low 200s, 225, probably around there. So it's going to be interesting. I definitely think he has a lot of potential. Obviously, he doesn't have the ridiculous 150 tackle season, 20 tackles for loss or anything like that. But like you said, if you look at the individual games, Clemson, our biggest game of the season, at least early on. That was a game coming into it, Tom, that people thought whoever wins this is going to be in the playoffs, and who loses won't be. And he had 2 sacks in that game, 5 tackles, a game and a half against a sack and a half, against an undefeated Arkansas team. Tennessee was a big game for us. He had 11 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a sack in that game. And then you mentioned Michigan. I mean, like I said, Tom, he was my player of the game from the Michigan game. So he has the impact performances. I definitely think he can be as good as Roquan Smith, if not better. But like we said, like we always say with these guys, Tom, it's always dependent on coaching. Like if he went to freaking New England, like you said, oh my God, like that would be a perfect landing spot for him. Bill Belichick there coaching him up. I mean, you can't do much better than that. So if he does slip, I think it might be one of those cases where it actually helps him a bit instead of going a bit higher to a team that maybe isn't that good or whatever, and it's tough to stand out or whatnot. But if he goes to a team where there's already good pieces in place, I think that would only help him.
Unfortunately, these minimal things scare people away. Like maybe the surgery he had on that torn labrum last spring, maybe that could play a factor. But anyway, this guy has a lot of strengths. You talked about winning the Buckus Award for the nation's best linebacker. Dean is a pure 3-down linebacker. You mentioned that he's an explosive athlete. He piles up impact stats in major categories, which I love, and he plays off of blockers well. He affects the passing game in a variety of ways. And excellent speed and range. He can cover backs, which is very important. Noah, and I know you make fun of us Giants fans a lot for talking about this, but the Giants have not had a good coverage linebacker in quite some time. The Giants get eaten alive by tight ends. Dean is not only is he a good blitzer, because by the way, when he blitzes, he gets home. His timing is perfect. His burst and leverage is insane. But could Nakobe Dean fix the Giants covering tight ends problem if he does happen to be selected by Big Blue?
I think so. I think, like I said, I think he's very solid in coverage. That's definitely one of his strengths. He's not a guy. Look, he can get in the backfield. I mean, 10 tackles for loss, 10.5, I think, last season. He can do that. Like you said, he's a great blitzer. But where I think he really stands out is, coverage, making tackles in the open field as well. And, we've seen our good friend Hank and Dick, banging that table week after week. Can't get off the field on third down. Can't cover tight ends. The same thing every week. Now I will say, like I said, undersized. So how effectively can he cover tight ends? I think that's a bit of a question mark. But if they do put him in coverage or whatever, maybe spy on the quarterback as well. But I think he can do good on roles like that. Like I said, very athletic, good field to field speed. The only concern I have with him, covering a guy like a tight end is he big enough to do that? He can always put on weight, of course. I mean,
right.
But the height as well. So maybe I definitely think it'd be worth a shot. But like you said, you'd have to trade down. This guy, I love him. I would not pick him in the top 10. I think there are, the size is at least a knock, and then you add the injury and all that stuff. I think he'll fall a bit. But if someone did trade down and took him, I think, getting some additional draft picks and getting this guy would be really good for him.
Yeah, and Joe Shane has emphasized draft capital, getting more draft picks. I actually have Devin Lloyd going before Nakobe Dean, partially because of the injury that Dean suffered. And, I think we talk about Nakobe Dean. I think he'll maximize his skill set if he's playing on the weak side in a 4-3 scheme. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely think he would fit well in a 4-3.
Yeah.
He's not exactly a guy I would see as, one of those 3-4 pass rushing outside linebackers like a TJ Watt.
Yeah.
That's not really his game because, like we said, he's undersized. I think he's kind of a guy like maybe in a zone scheme where they send blitzes with the linebacker, his own blitzing scheme. I think that's where he'd fit. But as for, one of those guys, like I said, TJ Watt or whatever, whose main goal is the pass rush, that's not who he is. I think he's a more traditional outside linebacker. Maybe a guy like let me see here. I don't know. How about a guy like a Keith Bullock, if you remember him, Tom? Someone
He
like
was
that.
a Giant for 1 year.
Yep. I was trying to think of a Giant, and that was the best I could come up
Oh,
with.
my God.
Yep. So,
Hey, your linebackers aren't very good either, so we'll take what
oh
we
my
can
God.
get.
Don't get me started, Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, when it comes to Nakobe Dean, outstanding athlete, and we're going to get into the film here in just a minute. There's 10 plays I want to go over in particular with you, Noah, but what concerns me about picking him is that his play diagnosis, I think, can be worked on. And sometimes he's an afterthought at the second level due to his size, where blockers can easily eliminate him from the play, which is why I think we're talking about maybe early 20s, potentially mid to late 20s for Nakobe Dean. Worst case scenario. I don't see him falling to the second round, though. But that's pretty much all the analysis we have on him. And folks, before we get into our lovely film breakdown with Noah, remember we're partnering with our new sponsor, BetUS. You can sign up with our promo code below at Join125. You can get a 125% sign up bonus up to $2,500. You can bet on the go anywhere, anytime. Got to cash in on those live payouts, man. They are awesome stuff, especially with the number 1 draft pick. There's a lot of people rumoring it could be Trayvon Walker. It could be Aiden Hutchinson. Again, that is BetUS, America's number 1 favorite sports book, where the game begins. Now, Noah, we're going to get into the film breakdown of
favorite part.
Your man, Nakobe Dean. We'll get to the first play here. The first play is an interception against Florida.
Yes. I remember this.
Yeah, this was an outstanding play.
Yeah, I mean, it was a terrible decision by Anthony Richardson, I will say, Tom. But, he's coming a freaking, out wide. That's not something you usually see for a linebacker. But, I can't. I think that was the running back or something like that on a little short route there. And, terrible pass by Anthony Richardson. But what a play by, Nakobe Dean to be covering that far out wide. And then, once he picks it off, Tom, I mean, the guy's so fast and athletic. I mean, those poor suckers, dude, they just got no chance of catching him. But that was a big moment that game time. It was really close to start. Good first quarter, and then defense took over. Some big plays. So yeah, I mean, that was definitely in play. As soon as you said Florida, I'm like, here we go, Tom. I love this play.
He undercuts very well. So definitely something you love out of a linebacker. Now, this is another interception against Auburn and the lovely Bo Nix.
My good friend Bo Nix, it's funny how football works, right? I have a soft spot for Oregon, hate Bo Nix. He goes to Oregon, and what do you know? I will say for Bo Nix on that play, Tom, the receiver did not do him like any favors at all here. It did go off his hands, I think, but Nakobe Dean is in the right spot. Good diving catch as well. But yeah, I mean, this receiver, Bo Nix struggles as much as it is. I mean, please don't knock up the ball right to the defender, guys. Come on now.
Now, this next play.
Oh, yes.
This is your favorite one.
This is the favorite one. This is what I told last week, Tom, when I said Nakobe Dean. Actually, I told you this all the way on the Trayvon Walker one. I said, you got to get this play on there, Tom. And you're like, oh, yeah, I know what you mean. So, yeah, sideline to sideline tackle here, Tom. He's moving before the snap. And is that Blake Corum? I couldn't tell. But, yeah, we know how good Michigan's running backs are, Tom. I mean, we saw them, like, literally the game before this. They destroyed Ohio State's defense. 5 touchdowns. Some big plays by all their, their quarterback or their running backs, but just a little, dump off past the right side by McNamara. And Nakobe Dean moving before the snap, sideline to sideline tackle. This is the athleticism he has. And look at the technique here, Tom. I want you to, slow it down if you can. As he goes to the tackle, it's just a really solid wrap-up leg tackle, which is very hard to break because, the problem is when guys tackle high, it's really tough to tackle a guy up high, but he goes to the legs and, that guy isn't getting away. He perfectly, grabs, his foot basically. Just a perfectly formed tackle. And I mean, a 3-yard loss in a game that, was really turning in their favor in the second half, mainly due to defensive plays like that.
Absolutely. He is a difference maker. Now, here's a sack against Clemson, and I like this play a lot. I believe this was first game of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was.
So you'll see him on a delay here. Just, I mean, first of all,
What
he's
is that right
unmarked.
guard doing? Yeah, the right guard is trying to block one of the defensive linemen there, and this is the thing with UJ defense, right? Matchups. I don't know what the center is doing, Tom. Like
Too
he
late.
goes to take the guy the right guard was blocking, and the right guard is blocking air. And as soon as he notices Nakobe Dean's already in the backfield, basically sacks DJ. Miscommunication, I think, between the right guard and the center. You see number 56 here; he's blocking a defensive lineman, and then he's supposed to chip. He's supposed to get off. That the center takes that defensive lineman. He tries to get Nakobe Dean. Unfortunately, don't know what number 1 is doing either, as you say right there, Tom. Center doesn't really pick up, and then the right guard's blocking air basically. But yeah, great play by Nakobe Dean on that blitz, like you said, Tom. Very good blitzer. Oh yes, my good friends, the Tennessee Volunteers, one of my favorite teams to watch get humiliated. Can't wait for this one as well.
I mean, this is such a great play here. I mean, look at this tackle and then in the backfield. I mean,
Yeah, I mean
is
he's
that
already in
Hendon
the
Hooker?
freaking. I think it is. Actually,
Yeah.
I think a little quarterback run there, and we know how capable Hendon Hooker is. I'm excited to see him in next year's draft. I think he'd be a very good player. But I mean, by the time this ball is basically snapped, Tom, Nakobe Dean is already in the backfield. I mean, this play is blown up from the start. Don't know what number 88 is doing. Just kind of standing there, not really blocking anyone. And credit to Hendon Hooker. I mean, he's a great player, but good tackle. He just has no chance. I mean, you can't leave Nakobe Dean unblocked, Tom, and expect good results. He's way too athletic. I mean, number 88, not sure what he's doing right there. I mean, I guess he goes to try and help block someone else, but he doesn't really do anything. Like, if he at least tried to block Nakobe Dean here, maybe it could work. But, I mean, he's not even facing the right way, Tom. Where's he looking? Like, if you
I
want
have
him to
no
block on the
idea.
right side, motion him.
And
Not very
Devontae
good.
Wyatt got free too.
Yeah, I mean, he gets instant penetration as well, which helps disrupt the play a bit as well. You see number 4 right there as well, Nolan Smith. I mean, he's making an impact as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just terrible play call as well. Good play though by Nakobe Dean.
Here's the first of 2 sacks we're going to show against Arkansas. And, I mean, he just gets through the center on this one.
Yeah, no,
KJ Jefferson, no chance.
And this is a strange thing, right, Tom? We talk all about his size, but here's an instance of him where he uses that lack of size to his advantage. The center is not able to keep up with him, basically. I think he does good initially, like you see there, but he's just so athletic, way too fast. I mean, this center, he gets his hands on him at first, does a decent job, pushing him to the outside, actually, away from KJ Jefferson. But the guy is just so fast. I mean, the running back, he's staying in the block. He blocks someone else. He should have honestly tried to double team Nakobe Dean. Instead, he goes to, block that guy, which, maybe if he got a chip on Nakobe Dean, KJ Jefferson would have had a little more time to do something. Instead, he tries to, I think that's Channing Tindall. He tried to block, which just leaves Nakobe Dean, with a free shot on KJ Jefferson.
Yeah, and that's good technique too by Dean, getting the inside scoop there on his arm. And here's another one against Arkansas. I like this one a lot too. I mean, just watch the man run in real time here. He's battling. He pushes the running back into his own quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's the thing, Tom. We saw in that last play, the running back, maybe could have tried to help the offensive lineman. Well, this time the running back does stay in the block. First of all, he just instantly penetrates. Tight end number 87 tries to get him, just gets absolutely blown by. And the running back, poor guy. He tries his best, but he just gets absolutely eviscerated. Boat race right back into the quarterback, basically. He gets sacked. That was just great all around. Breaking through the offensive line, dominating the running back on the block, and a good sack as well. And like you said, Tom, 2 sack. Oh, this was another big game. An undefeated Kentucky team at the time, Tom, gave us a good first half, actually. But then, in the second half, like we've seen in a lot of UGA games, defense, contributes to helping us take control here on a 2nd and goal play as well. So, Kentucky was driving here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Will Levis and Malcolm Rodriguez in the backfield, if I'm not mistaken. And this is the last of 2 clips we're going to show. And watch what Dean does on this play.
Yeah, I will say, Tom, it's good that, 3 guys instantly went at the line of scrimmage, just basically unblocked. We'll watch it back here again, but Will Levis, who is a very good quarterback in my opinion, might be a good mid-round guy next year. But we see here, Nolan Smith, two other guys that might be Trayvon Walker and Jordan
Yeah.
Davis. I can't see the numbers exactly from here, Tom, but yeah, that's definitely Jordan Davis. I can tell.
But look at
how
Dean
big.
in the background.
Yeah, I mean, you see the awareness, Tom. He has his eyes on the running back the whole way. Like I said, very good coverage guy. Number 79 tries to slow him down. He falls on his ass, unfortunately. And number 24, like you said, I think that is Malcolm Rodriguez. Very good running back. But Nakobe Dean, has his eyes on him the whole time. Very good at coverage. Another play against Tennessee here.
Yeah. Here's the last play. This is a nice pass breakup by Nakobe Dean.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you want from, like you said, Tom, if you want a guy that's good at coverage, I mean, he's out there covering, I think that's a tight end, number 88. That's definitely, seems like a tight end guy build. And, this is a pretty decent pass by Hendon Hooker. This isn't, some misplaced pass or anything. It's up to where, he thinks only the tight end can catch it. Like I said, he's so athletic. He has pretty good vertical as well. I don't have his numbers up, Tom, because, he didn't go to the combine, but I assume, he has some good attributes. So a good breakup there. But, we saw from that film study, Tom, it's a bit of everything. Good at tackling, pretty good in coverage, making plays in the backfield as well. He had a couple forced fumbles, like you said. I don't think we had any clips with those. But he can do a bit of everything, Tom. A bit of a jack of all trades. Maybe not elite at anything, but he's one of those things that's pretty good all around. So, I think if he slips in the 20s because of that injury, some guy will definitely get a really solid player. And if he gets some good coaching, man, I'll tell you what, look out, because he has all the physical attributes other than size that you could want for a linebacker.
It's funny you talk about us getting Georgia defenders, and the only one the Giants could really take negotiably in their spot is Trayvon Walker, because if they want Jordan Davis or Nakobe Dean, they're trading back from pick number 7. I think pick number 5 is too valuable of a pick to trade back. You got to get your tackle there. But 7 you could easily use on defense. You can get a defensive lineman, you can get a linebacker, you can get a corner, whatever it may be.
Well, I'll throw this at you, Tom. If people think we're taking a quarterback, which I hope to God we're not, maybe someone wants to jump in front of us, since we're at number 8, maybe they would want to trade with you and you could trade back. Draft capital, like you said, Joe Shane, that's something he's definitely high on, and I agree with him. When your team isn't that good, sure, quality picks are great. I mean, 5 and 7, but if you could trade back from 7 to, say, I don't know, 15 or something like that, get a second or whatever in there, some mid-round picks, that could help you guys as well. And we've seen in the past, Tom, not going to tangent here, but Joe Shane, him and Brandon Beane, I mean, they turned that team around in Buffalo largely around drafting. So, having those 2 top 7 picks, that's going to be big for you guys. So, you can thank the Chicago Bears for that. Poor Justin Fields, man. I do have a soft spot for him. He did play for UGA. He's a Georgia guy. I watched him in college, but that poor sucker. I mean, he just has no help over there. But you guys are the beneficiaries of that trade, so long-term at least.
Folks, this was Noah Deibler analyzing UGA linebacker prospect Nakobe Dean. Folks, do you want Nakobe Dean to be in Big Blue come draft night? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Appreciate everybody for watching our video here today. Make sure to go check us out again on all social media platforms and our YouTube channel at Big Blue Avenue. And folks, without further ado, let's go Big Blue.